In Taoism, there is a simple and powerful image. The farmer who pulls the plant so that it grows faster ends up pulling out its roots. To the outside observer, the intention seems good. He wants to help. He wants to speed up the process. He wants to guarantee the result. But the earth itself responds with death, not growth. In relationships, the mistake is the same. When you force presence, explanations, guarantees, or continuity, you don't get closer. You break the natural flow. The Tao doesn't ask if you still love, it asks if there is still flow. And that's exactly where the most difficult question of all lies. When does insisting cease to be love and become a violation of the Tao? Knowing when to leave is not giving up. It is recognizing the moment when energy has stopped flowing. In modern thinking, we are taught to decide based on emotion. If it still hurts, stay. If you still love, fight. If you still hope, try again. Taoism completely ignores this criterion. For the Tao, feelings are waves. Movements are signals. A healthy relationship has something very specific: spontaneous reciprocity, not constant effort, not emotional negotiation, not vigilance. When you need to push, remind, demand, or sustain alone, what should move by itself? The Tao has already been broken. The moment to leave begins when the movement ceases to be mutual and becomes unilateral. You feel it in your body before you understand it with your mind. Tension arises, contraction, a slight state of constant alertness. The Tao calls this a loss of alignment. In Taoism, everything exists in balance between yin and yang. Yang is action, initiative, advancement, speech, presence. Yin is space, receptivity, silence, response, return. A balanced relationship naturally alternates between these poles. Sometimes you speak, sometimes you listen, sometimes you lead, sometimes you are led. The problem begins when you become too yang. You send more messages, you explain more, you try to fix more. You sustain more, you justify more, and every time yang becomes excessive, Tao automatically creates yin. Distance, coldness, silence, withdrawal, not as punishment, as natural correction. The exact moment to leave is when you realize that the more you act, the more the other person withdraws. This is the definitive sign that the Tao is being violated. Many people believe that insisting demonstrates love. In Taoism, insisting beyond the point demonstrates attachment. And attachment generates something very specific: loss of presence. When you stay where the flow is gone, your energy begins to beg instead of inviting. Your silence is no longer centered. Your speech loses weight. You come to be perceived not for what you are, but for what you want. The Tao teaches that everything you try to hold on to becomes heavy, and everything that becomes heavy ends up being avoided. Therefore, staying past the right point does not increase your chances. It eliminates energetic respect. Here is a common mistake: thinking that the time to leave is when the other person says it's over. In Taoism, that moment has already passed. The real point is earlier. It is silent, it involves no discussion, it involves no drama. It arises when you notice three simultaneous signs. You think more about the relationship than you live within it. You feel more anxiety than calm. You give more than you receive without spontaneous return. When these three states coexist, the Tao has already been broken. Waiting for verbal confirmation is denying the wisdom of the body and energy. When Tao speaks of withdrawal, it does not refer only to physically leaving. It refers to withdrawing energetic investment. You may even remain present externally, but internally, you stop pushing. You stop adjusting. You stop adapting beyond what is necessary. It is a silent retreat, a return to the center. This movement has a curious effect. Often the other person feels the emptiness and draws closer. Other times they don't. And the Tao accepts both possibilities with the same serenity. Because the goal is not to make the other person come back. It is to make you come back to yourself. There is a central principle in Taoism. Emptiness is what makes something useful. The vase exists because of the space inside it. The door works because of the gap, not the wood. In relationships, emptiness creates desire, respect, and curiosity. Insistence creates saturation. When you withdraw at the right moment, you give the other person the experience of longing, and the Tao responds naturally to longing. But when you withdraw too late, emptiness no longer heals. It only confirms the wear and tear. That's why timing is everything. There is a central principle in Taoism. Emptiness is what makes something useful. The vase exists because of the space inside it. The door works because of the gap, not the wood. In relationships, emptiness creates desire, respect, and curiosity. Insistence creates saturation. When you withdraw at the right moment, you give the other person the experience of longing, and the Tao responds naturally to longing. But when you withdraw too late, emptiness no longer heals. It only confirms the wear and tear. Here is the Taoist paradox that the modern mind rejects. Sometimes, walking away is the only movement that restores the Tao, not because it guarantees a return, but because it interrupts the distortion. When you walk away with dignity, something reorganizes itself. Calmness arises within you. Clarity arises in the field. And even if the other person never returns, you do not leave diminished. You leave whole. The Tao does not promise happy endings. It promises alignment. Leaving in Taoism does not involve accusations, ultimatums, or long speeches. It involves simplicity, few words, clear gestures, no attempt to convince. You don't over-explain. You don't justify yourself. You don't try to be understood at any cost, because those who need to be convinced are no longer in the flow. The real exit is silent, firm, and clean. When you respect the time of the Tao, something interesting happens. Your mind slows down, your body relaxes, your identity is restored. You stop looking for signs. You stop interpreting silence. You stop living in a state of waiting. And this change is noticeable, even from a distance. Some people return, others disappear for good. But in both cases, you regain something more important than the relationship, your energetic integrity. The Tao does not teach you how to hold on to someone. It teaches you how not to lose yourself trying to hold on. The time to leave is not when there is no more love. It is when there is no more flow. Staying beyond that point is like swimming against the river. Leaving at the right time is allowing the water to flow again, and even if no one returns, you remain, because those who walk with the Tao never lose. If this teaching found you, it was not by chance. In the Tao, nothing is forced. The right things simply align when we are ready to hear them. By signing up, you are not following a channel. You are choosing to walk with more clarity, less attachment, and more presence. If this makes sense now, stay. The path continues.